move into our Trend Talk Masterclass, a focused session designed for founders, operators, and brand builders who are moving fast and want to scale right. The topic of today's masterclass is the real reason your brand isn't scaling and how to fix it. To lead this masterclass, we have with us one of the sharpest minds in the startup ecosystem. He is the founder of AccelerateX Ventures and the author of the widely read book Startupology, a practical guide for founders navigating the realities of building and scaling. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage none other than Mr. Vivek Chadha. Can we welcome him with a huge round of applause? Thank you, Vivek, for being here with us.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Good afternoon. How are we doing? I can't hear you. This is not the session like before. This is going to be engaging. I'm going to listen to what you're saying as well. All right. So we are going to talk about the real reason your brand isn't scaling and how to fix it. This is not like that master key that you put and it'll work. You'll have to do the work here. How many of us are founders? Like, what is this? Like, how many of us are founders? Wow, okay. 30%, wonderful. So who am I? I am Vivek. I founded three companies, one exit, wrote a book called Startupology. Can you give me the book? Yeah. I wrote this book in about 18 months. It's the first year anniversary. And it's a great resource if you want to do the 0 to 1 journey. I founded AccelerateX, which is a advisory to help scale brands globally. Worked over 100 founders in the last 3 years. And I'm building a community for founders. If you're interested, you can scan this and then we'll get to work after this. The most important part of building a brand is to shamelessly sell like I'm doing right now. Okay? Are we good? Okay. So this session is for people who are already building. This is not a session if you want to learn how to go 0 to 1, you already have a brand, you already are building something and probably you're doing some revenue and trying to figure out how do I take that journey from 1 to 10. So you may be coming as a founder, you may be coming, as somebody who is managing operations, scaling, expansion, so on and so forth. This is the most important slide with the least text. We think we know what works because what got us here, we have a hypothesis that works. But once you reach a stage where your brand has picked up, customers are showing some love, and you have reached a place where the initial doubts of whether this will work or not is over, you want to scale it further because you see the potential in the market and you see your competitors killing it. And you see your competitor brand on Shark Tank and you're like, I could have been that brand, right? So how do I take it from where I am today to probably 10x or 100x, right? And the most important self-awareness that you can have is whatever worked till now may not work as is when you are scaling from here to the next level of journey. Even when you have reached a certain level, right? Many of the brands who reach the initial product market fit, which essentially is a definition which all of us struggle with, right? What is product market fit? People are coming, they are buying in a particular niche or segment. We have sort of figured out how we are going to grow this market. Even then, after reaching a certain stage, there is a ceiling that happens. And that ceiling is very frustrating because suddenly things stop working, right? And it has happened to all of us. And this is not just about brands. This is also about life, right? So it is more relatable. Suddenly you get 90% in school, you kill it in college, and in job you're frustrated. Because what you learned and what worked is not geared to work in the new environment. And this new environment where we are trying to go 10x from where we are today is a different ball game altogether, right? So it's not that you don't have ideas or you do not know how your go-to-market works or what your ICP is or how the customers, will behave. You have done all the assessments, but somehow something is not working, right? And the reason for that is that at every stage, there is a new level of complexity that comes in. A kind of complexity that we have not dealt with before. And whatever we have done in the past was at a different level of complexity, right? This is obvious, but once you are inside the box, we stop thinking about it. So somebody from outside has to come and tell you, hey, what are you doing? This worked in the past, but this will not work in the future. And what I can tell you is this: we can keep blaming the market, we can keep blaming investors, we can keep blaming parents, we can keep blaming our friends, co-founders, but majority of the problem is us. When I say us, it is internal to the system, internal to the company, and especially for smaller companies, as founders, you have to take 100% of the responsibility, irrespective of what is happening in the market. This may sound philosophical, right? But this is true for brands and for life, right? And most of the times it is the decision maker, which is the founder. So if you're not a founder, you can blame your founders or your bosses. And if you're a founder, you have to take the blame of why it is not happening, because your competitors are killing it. Your companies who started later than you have moved faster than your brand is growing. Am I making sense till now? Okay. Half of the people like, ठीक है, समझ जाओ. हिंदी आती है सबको यहाँ पे? Yeah, okay. Because I want to do a mix so that you understand, what I'm saying. Okay, so how are we going to think about this? We need to think in terms of decisions, and I'm going to talk about 5 decisions we need to think about. And why I say decisions, because decisions compel you to take an action. When you think about, I have to take a decision, it means you have to reach a point where you are taking an action. If you're not taking an action, then that decision is meaningless. I want to grow my brand is meaningless if you don't take steps to do something about it. And the first important decision you want to make is to understand what is your North Star metric. When we are building our first brand, when we are starting finding vendors, defining the product, finding the ICP, we say, एक customer आ जाए मेरे पास, 5 customers आ जाएं. I want 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 customers, right? Because we are focused on revenue, we want those customers as a proof that what we are doing is working. It is to give us the confidence that it is making sense of what I am doing, right? But once you reach a certain stage, the urge to focus on that increases. That, hey, we have reached 10 lakhs, 100 lakhs, 10 crores, we have to keep scaling. That is a good mindset from a top line perspective, but it will kill you if you do not track your other metrics, which is your retention. Because you can keep spending money on Instagram ads and keep acquiring customers. But if you have a leaky bucket, you'll become tired. You'll become exhausted. And when I say you means the founders, the employees, the company as a whole, right? It is very exhausting that you have a large tank where a lot of water is flowing and there is a big hole and the water is flowing out, and you think I'm on a treadmill. How many of us have had that feeling sometime in our lives, right? Life is also exhausting. In life you feel I'm on a treadmill. When you are in your jobs before starting this company, people who have left corporate jobs to start something and only to figure out now customer is my boss, right? That was a sham people taught us about entrepreneurship, right? Retention is, and I have committed this mistake, not once, many times, and I'm ashamed to tell you that it is very hard to learn this because you're so focused on acquiring customers that you think, okay, if somebody wants to leave, just like let him go or let her go, and we'll figure out, because the market is so big. But the problem with that mindset is that you will hit a ceiling very, very soon, right? If you don't figure out retention, because problems multiply at scale. If you have a problem at 1 CR, it will not vanish at 10 CR or 100 CR. It will multiply, and that's not to be a good situation you want to be in, right? So once a product is bought, focus on what are the metrics, what are the things we should focus on so that that customer comes and buys from me again. If you are building a D2C brand, you have no loyalty. Your customer will buy, second time they can go anywhere else. If you are building in SaaS, there is still a chance that you are building a subscription model, right? B2B SaaS, for example, can have a 1-year subscription where the contract is for a year and they buy from you month over month over month, a fixed price, for example, right? For the product or the service, which means there is predictability. In D2C, the problem is there is no predictability. If you don't focus on retention, you do not know how many percentage of your customers are going to come back. And if you don't worry about it, you're dead. So you have to focus on your second purchase rate. Why should that person come? Focus on your product quality. Not just focus, obsess. If you were the customer, would you buy it again? Honestly, we know many times the answer is no, right? Because your product sounds to me too like any other product in the market with just better packaging. Customer love. Even after so much advancement of technology, awareness, and what those Instagram reels keep telling us, we still do not focus on the customer. Why? I do not know. Somehow, once customer buys something, the brand feels that it is okay to mistreat or not care enough about the person. But the problem is that the person will not come second time if you don't treat them well. So you have to obsess equally about how the customer is feeling about using your product or your brand. And the way I think about brand is think about a sphere like the earth with infinite touch points, and anybody can come and touch the sphere without your knowledge and experience what your brand is. So if you don't control the narrative, it is already happening. The emails that you send, the website that you have, the way you talk to people, the way your employees talk to your customers, everything gets translated into building a brand. No one can write a playbook on building a brand and say, please follow this and your brand is built. Your brand is getting built. It's either you are controlling it or you're not controlling it. As simple as that. Another very important point is that how do you build loyal customers? How do you build retention, right? It's a theory, like it's a chapter in itself. And the way I have learned it is to treat the customers well. And when I say well, it also means how they experience the product, right? Give them of value more than what you are giving them in the product. For example, if you're selling something, add them with permission to your newsletter and give value through that newsletter. Because every time they touch your brand, the trigger should be that I will learn something, right? I will get something extra that I usually do not get when I go somewhere else. And this will happen when once you experience with many brands. Some brands are very transactional. You give me money, I'll give you the product. Go home. And with many other brands, you will get an experience where you feel nice because it triggers either a pleasant experience or you're learning something, or it makes you feel very, very homely, right? And this is an experiment that you have to run over and over to test. If you try this, what happens? If you try that, what happens? Make sense? Okay. Now, for most of us, we think if we were to run the ads, get the influencers, get the PR, things will work out. And, get the right partners, distribution will happen. But you cannot buy your way into distribution. Because the problem is, who is sitting at the end of the distribution? Who can tell me? Who is sitting at the end of distribution? Consumer. And if your relationship with your consumer through your brand or your product or your service is not good, the same thing will repeat. You will reach out to a lot of people, and again the same cycle of bad experience repeats, and your product does not get repetition over time, and every time you're looking for new customers. So before you start distribution or thinking about how do I reach the masses, you have to figure out how do I solve for the experience that my consumer is going to get, right? And we come to the second important point of positioning, right? Positioning means what communication your consumer is getting about your brand from the market, which includes you. And this is not what you are communicating. This is what they are receiving. And why I say, because what you are saying and what they are listening are two different things. When we fight with our friend, parents, spouses, we say you're not listening to me. Because what you are saying is not what they are listening. And that is what happens to customers. We are the best product in the market. Customer doesn't trust you. You have to prove it. We have the best sourced raw materials. We have the best of blah, 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 right? And we solve for this problem. I'm building a hair oil brand. Your hair will grow like forest. The customer doesn't trust you, right? Your positioning is what you're solving, how you're solving, and what is the level of authenticity in that communication. If you just write your copies using AI, customers can smell it. Like the emails you get from everybody nowadays with M dashes, right? Which means that you can smell if somebody has actually written it or used technology just to get the work done, right? So you have to own your distribution, and that will happen when the end consumer understands what you're doing. Obviously, it's easier said than done because there is a lot of experiment that has to be done. If you're building in a category where demand is not established, then you're in for a long haul because you're trying to experiment, you're creating a new category. But if it's a established category, the other problem is it's a red ocean market. What's a red ocean market? There are hundreds of other brands who are catering to the same market. So the demand is there, but there's so much competition, right? What that means is that now you have to differentiate your communication, your product, your brand from other brands Not only in just terms of product, but in terms of what you stand for, right? What problem are you solving? Has anybody heard of Nordstrom? Nordstrom is a very, very old American brand and known for their customer service, right? And they say, and they just don't say, they do it. If you have a problem, we will solve it. And there is an anecdote that in the store, they have everything like Costco. And one person came to give away the bad tires of his car, which Nordstrom was not selling. They still accepted it and said, we'll give you new tires. It's a crazy story, but the point I'm trying to make is that you really have to earn what you're building. And that is how your brand recall will happen, right? You see a lot of brands on Instagram and think, oh, I wish I could talk like that. I could do that kind of dance that she's doing while selling hair, right? And maybe I could be like Parul. But then what will happen? You will get few customers, they will experience the product. If they don't like it, it is meaningless. Do you agree with me? Right? Parul has a great brand, by the way, right? I'm just giving an example. The third decision you need to take is about the team. And if you are starting out, then hiring is for co-founders. But if you already have a team, then you cannot hire people for solving problems. You have to hire people, but the mathematics should not be that I have a problem, let me get this person who will solve that problem, right? So how do you think about it? Now, this is one of the most complex problems that happens to us because things are moving so fast. Teams are already there. We are already doing, building, and now we have to hire, which is not very easy because people nowadays, and founders especially, are not able to find the right people, right? I hear from so many founders, they've taken 3 months, they cannot fill the position because the right person is not there. And their generic complaint is that Gen Zs do not want to work. And I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that we do not know which person to hire for which job, right? Because if you hire the right person for the right problem, the problem is solved. So how do you think about it? So before you hire, you think about building systems, building processes. What are those people going to do? And if you as a founder are still sitting on top of those people telling everything, and the best example I have is, imagine you own a toll booth which has got 10 bays, and the founder is sitting on one of the booths. So what will happen? You will never expand, you will never grow because you yourself are sitting on the toll booth, right? So the mindset is you need to get out of the toll booth and sit in an office and run that toll booth like a machine, like a system, right? And then after some time, have multiple toll booths and have managers to run those toll booths. Make sense? So the deal here is that you hire people who can build systems, who understand the value of systems, because then it is a cascading effect. You hire an A player, that A player will help you build the right system and hire more A players. You hire one wrong core team member, they will spoil the culture, get wrong people, and screw up the entire dynamics of the team, right? And we have all seen it. One wrong senior leadership hire can cost you anywhere from 12 to 18 months of time, money, and motivation, right? And in your daily schedule, look at how your calendar looks like. For example, my calendar looked like running from one meeting to another. And I'm very happy because I'm busy. But after a few months, years, decades, I realize it is not working. I could do much more. I could do so much better, right? So you spend 20% of your time, block it. Don't do your operational work. Think about what one decision should I take, what one thing should I do that will help me free up more of my time so that the things in your company are happening like in an automated manner. There is so much AI that you can track things without asking the team on Slack or WhatsApp, please give me the status, right? You could save 2 to 3 hours every day by simply automating reporting. You don't have to remind your employees what happened to that because it is already there in the system. Once it goes in the system, let system figure out. And if you do not know how to do it, take some help to figure out how do I automate mundane follow-ups, tasks, right? It's the smallest system you can build, but this will help you save time, which will help you save a lot of other things and headaches, right? So one decision that will lead to you not taking many other regular decisions is a good thing. You should be doing only what you are capable of doing. If you are doing something that anybody else can do, you should not be doing that. Obviously, initially that is not possible, but that is the goal, right? In the hustle culture, we want to keep running. And if we don't work for half a day, we feel that, oh, we did not accomplish much, right? The problem that we need to solve is to understand what metric to solve for. And speed is not the metric, right? Speed of acquisition of customers, yes, is important, but founders get busy with, I have 100 tasks, I closed 80, so I'm a winner. But at the end of the month, your revenue needle is not moving, right? So you need to have the right metric in terms of what am I chasing and what are the levers that will get me to solve those metric. The founder should be working only on levers that will solve for the North Star metric, nothing else. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to scale the brand. And that is what I mean by saying move with clarity, right? There are anyways hundreds of things happening. Once you have a running business, running operations is itself not easy because so many things are happening. The moving pieces are breaking down. There is churn happening, people dynamics, so on and so forth. We have seen it all, right? So identify what is the right leading metric for your brand. Now there are leading metrics and there are lagging metrics. What is a leading metric and what's a lagging metric? Revenue is a lagging metric. If your revenue is low, you're too late to the party to get to know that. Why? Because 3 months ago something happened that could have told you that this is going to be the position today. And what is happening today can tell you how your brand revenue will look like 3 months down the line. Because it is going in a certain direction, right? What you call as, let's say, pipeline of acquisition of customers. Am I making sense? So let's say your unit economics, what is your CAC? What is CAC? Customer acquisition cost, which initially gets inflated because we have to push, we have to hire influencers, we have to run ads, and we have to do everything for people to at least notice us that we exist in the market. And the most important part here is increasing LTV, which relates back to the first slide. LTV is your lifetime value, which means how much money your customer is going to spend on your brand over its lifetime. You need to be like paste LTV on your desk and maybe in your room, because if you solve for LTV, then 50% of your problems are solved. And focus on how can you creatively get more organic growth. This is the hardest to solve because we get frustrated. We think money will solve the problem. You rent customers by spending on ads. The moment your funding dries up, the customers go away to somewhere else. And you think, oh, I need funding now. Where are the investors? Why are they not responding? The less dependency you have on people outside your company, the better it is for you, right? I'm not saying you don't need to raise money, but an investor will also get interested in you if your unit economics, your profitability, your CAC, LTV are all in order and better than the market benchmarks. Okay, most controversial topic. Should I add more SKUs or should I focus on one vertical and go deeper in that? Depends. Completely depends on the stage where you are and your understanding of the market. If you have a good founder fit, you come from the market, you understand how it works, then maybe you could go with multiple SKUs, expand. But the generic advice is to go deep first. Build something, go vertical deep, build your niche so that people should say that this product is the best in this category. Once you have minimal success, it's easier to think that let me add something so that it will double my revenue and then triple it. The problem is as soon as you start doing this, your revenue depth is not there. So it is not adding any value to add because it is dividing your focus. So build one category and master it. Obsess over it, figure out how am I going to solve this. Talk to founders who are building in that exact category and have killed the competition. Right? That is where you will get the nuances. And there's, so much help available, but the way you should be thinking is very, very important. And these are important decisions because killing your categories is the hardest thing that you can do. How many of us are getting bored? No one. I took advantage of nobody picking up their hands. Is it clear? Okay. So I've just, spoken about the points here. We spoke about this. Now, India as a market is not one market, right? India is as many markets as there are regional places, more than 20, right? So if you have to expand only in India, then you have to understand the local nuance, whether you're selling in the north, west, south, or east, or the middle of, India. We've spoken about positioning. What is important in distribution is to have a very, very clear go-to-market strategy, right? It's very important to understand how are you going to enter the market, what sequence of steps are you going to take to reach out to customers, what are the channels that you are going to reach out to, and what is the way in which your customers will discover you. We know all of this, but the sequence matters a lot. Do not get carried away by what your competitors are doing because your story, your brand, and your company culture is very specific to you. If you try to copy somebody else, it may end up in a disaster because that may not work for you. And it applies for your competitor. If they try to copy you, it may not work for them. The best way I've seen things working is to experiment. And if you ask me if it will work or not, I do not know. Why? Because what I know is historical data and things are moving so fast that you have to actually test. So if you think something works, build a hypothesis, test it, run it, look at the data, and keep moving forward. And that is the culture you should build in your company, that employees should not feel afraid of failing. Because what happens is that If as a founder boss you tell them that, hey, why are you stupid? Why did you do this? Right? Then it is very, very difficult for people to try new things. They try to comply to what the founder wants, right? And that is not, it's okay. You can tell them, we have an experiment day on Friday. Everybody will tell one experiment they're going to do for the next week. And then we see what happens. Another important point is the pricing strategy. When we build something, as a founder, at least I was very afraid in asking for the right amount of money. I used to undercharge. If something is $100, I will say, okay, take it for 50. At least my cost is getting covered. At least I'm not in loss. At least blah, 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 right? And the problem with that is there is no margin left. And if you don't have margin, then you cannot grow. You're trying to solve, मेरा inventory निकल जाए, मेरे vendor को काम मिलता रहेगा, blah, 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 right? So, and the positioning that you will do will create that value. The same product is getting sold for $100, $1,000, and some international brands are selling it for 1 lakh. Right? Why is that happening? That is happening because of the positioning and the brand who is selling that product. The raw material possibly is coming from the same source. And this is something that you have to think deeply about, that the way you are selling it should not be based on the calculation of only cost price, that I will add a margin and then sell it. That is a trader's mentality. You know, traders, merchants, that is how India operates, which is okay if you want to be a trader. But if you want to build a brand, then you need to have a high margin. You need to think about how can I convert a 10 rupee cost price into a 100 rupee selling price, and the difference is my story. How are you taking the product and converting it into a high value outcome for the consumer, right? Okay, we have spoken about people, so we'll skip it. Now let's think about whatever we are doing in our own brands. Maybe pick up your phone, or if you have a notebook, just spend a couple of minutes thinking about the next 5 questions I'm going to write down. If you really want to solve for the problems that you have, just write down what you are thinking about, what answer comes to you when you think about these 5 questions, right? And so the first question is, what am I optimizing for, right? Most of the time we are optimizing for urgency, because something is broken, we need to fix it. There's always something we are running after in the short term, right? But what are those levers that will lead me to compounding? One decision that will help me take other decisions faster. How can I, for example, empower the team so that they don't keep coming back to me for every small thing? And the way to think about it is, how do I free up my time of, from these small decisions that anybody else can take? Second question is around distribution that we have spoken about. I'll stop speaking because you can read it on the screen. Maybe use your phone to think about it. If you don't want to write, maybe just think. The fourth question is very important. We possibly know it by intuition, but we skip it because we need solitude to think about what is that one thing that will help me solve the biggest problem that I have today. Because we don't want to think, sit down and think, we keep running thinking it will compensate for my feeling of not doing enough, right? Should we move forward? Okay. I'm going to get down very soon, don't worry. So this is a summary: retention over revenue, positioning over distribution by ads or other inorganic growth, systems, thinking about systems before hiring, understanding your North Star metrics, having that clarity, before gaining speed, and having a vertical depth before increasing your width, right? And if you do not do this, then there is a cost associated with it. Okay, so this week, we are on a Monday, you have the whole week. Decide one thing that you're going to change that will help you compound your brand over the next 1 year. Thank you very much. And there is a bonus for all of you. The book that I wrote, I'm building a video stack over it. And this is basically a video course which is about building your entrepreneurship mindset. And if you want to connect with me, I'm available here. Please, and I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm more active on LinkedIn than WhatsApp, so feel free to message me. I have an open profile. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very big round of applause to Vivek Chadha. I can't, so please do not go. I need you on stage.
Okay.
I can't hear the applause. Come on, everyone. We have a small token of appreciation requesting Hazel Menezes from CMPL Expo to please come on stage and do the honors.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much for quite an informative session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Perfect.